Welcome, everyone. We're very excited by all of you being here already, and later on we welcome everyone watching the recording. Main star of today is the new software we're about to launch at the end of this month, and it's 5.0 XT. The main stars of this software update are advanced precision, and we'll dig in deeper during this presentation to clearly explain what it is, and we're extending the Direct Connect with more labs. XT stands for extending your possibilities. It stands for extended features. It stands for extreme precision and extra fast extendable. And of course, making it extraordinary. But let me emphasize that none of these changes, or all of these changes, I should say, are inextricably linked to our users, because it's all based on your feedback. And so I would like to extol to all the feedback we've received, and of course encourage you to keep on bringing via the support button or various means, keep giving us the feedback on what is working well, of course, and also what we can improve. So let me take you to the program. We'll start with 5.0 XT. Dig in deeper, drill down into the new features. And we're very delighted at a certain point in this presentation, or this webinar, this user forum, we'll switch over to present and introduce to you our new professional ambassador. Unfortunately, he has a very busy day today, so he will join us at a certain moment, and at that time we'll dynamically switch to introduce him. And Rainier, on the basis of questions we received in the previous weeks, has put together some case examples where he will basically, for the whole group, explain what the answers are to these questions that we received, and do a bit of in coaching and internal training.
So the new features we've been working on, advanced precision is what I will show later on, but it is coming up with better first glance fit predictions. So let me talk about it more later on. Direct Connect is extending the possibilities to the lab so that we gather all the data needed for the lab when you're ordering a lens, and also when you need consulting. So we try to bundle everything together. Beside of that, there was quite many people asking for the Vvid, so we're also going to introduce that. And beside of that, there is a small fix, but still it is a fix for the over-refraction calculator. The first lens fit algorithms, we're looking at the amount of settling and the amount of apical clearance, and then coming up what the system believes will be the best final fitting lens. However, over time we've learned that with eyes having their cone very peripheral, so EMDs or normal peripheral cones, or post-LASIK kind of eyes, we tend to undershoot. So the algorithms were coming up with a SEC too low. So we're going to do that better. And this is a visualization for what happened. So on the left side, you see a normal eye, or it could be a cone, a central cone, and then you simply check the amount of apical clearance, and and the amount of settling, and that's the lens you're coming up with. However, if you do that in the second image, you're having enough apical clearance, but still you're having touch. So we are going to do that better, and we're going to raise the lens, and we're also going to take in account flattening the base curve. So it's not simply ramping up the sag prediction, but also flattening the base curve. The second request we had is that we should do something with the prediction of the landing zone at the moment that there is a pinguecula. We tried to filter them already, but at the moment that first lens fit algorithms were missing these pingueculae, it was coming up with a prediction for the flat meridian, often too flat. So we're going to do that better. And I'm showing you here how it's going to look like in the software. So we're going to plot a blue circle, which you can see when you're opening the Scleral profile map. And yeah, just a little recap. With the Scleral profile map, we try to give you a feeling for the shape of the eye in just a split second. So what you see in this eye, if you're looking at the limbal zone, you see the blue rings. So that's indicating that the limbal zone is spheric in shape. If you're looking at the outer rings, you see 4 colors. That's indicating it's quad specific. However, the pinguecula was hiding there. So we're going to plot this blue circle, indicating also there is a pinguecula present. We will also plot it on the bisphere map. That's what you see on the right side. That's probably the main map. Everyone sees this the first time that you take the measurement. You're looking at the results. This is the first thing you see. So simply just the blue ring. Of course, always be aware that we're introducing this now, and we believe that it's really good, although be aware of false positives or false negatives. If you're hitting on such an example, please send it in, because we can only learn. But for now, we really believe it's a strong feature. So what does it do? On the left side, you see a prediction with the first lens fit. And for this example, I took a Zen Lens, and it is coming up with an APS 1, so the flat APS with a flat 7, and the APS 2 with a flat 3, which is the steep landing zone. If we're looking at the second map, there we did detect the pinguecula, and there it is coming up with a flat 3 and a flat 3, so a spheric landing zone. Let's see if it is correct. What I always, when I was talking about the numbers, I always choose a certain chord length. This one I took because it was giving the largest difference, but you're looking somewhere in the landing zone. You may say, I want to look at the very edge, but it also makes sense to look somewhere in the middle. So for this example, I just took the largest difference. So what I'm looking for, I take the chord length correlating with the landing zone, and I'm looking at this difference value. So when there is no pinguecula present, I'm aiming to design the landing zone based on this number. In this example, there is this pinguecula present. So you actually want to avoid it. So what I did on the right side, you see that I've been spinning this black line. So I'm avoiding the pinguecula. And the first number, this meridian value, is taken, so it's the sag over this meridian only. If you now check it, and I see that I made a little mistake, the yellow box, the second yellow box should be a little bit up there. So I'm looking at the 90 degrees max sag, which is the steepest meridian. And there you read 4.13, so 4,100 microns. If we compare that with the value at the first line, it's 4,050 microns. So the difference is very small, 100 microns or less. So our algorithms are designed to come up with a near sealed fit. So that means that they take 100, 150 microns of difference. They still consider that eye best fitting with a spheric head. So this explains what's happening when you're looking at the automated algorithm, and then this is digging into the numbers.
Hey, Rainier, it's Tom
Yeah.
Schoen. I got to jump in for a moment because our brand ambassador has shown up. He's stepped away from patients and he's got a limited amount of time. So yeah, I want to talk to you guys about this new role that we've created at Eaglet Eye. It's called Professional Ambassador, and I think you guys are going to like it. This person is going to serve as the face and voice of Eaglet Eye, particularly when we're speaking to eye care practitioners and or communicating via social media. So anytime when we go out in public, he or she is going to be the face and voice of Eaglet Eye. And that is because we'll feel that this particular individual is going to be able to talk your language. Rainier is able to do that. Arnie's able to do that. Elaine and I are fairly good at translating that, but this guy is an expert. So his other mission is to ensure that the user experience is great. In other words, if you guys have questions or need support, he's there. He'll get involved. He'll do what he can to pull the right people in and make sure you guys are well covered. So that means he's going to serve as an advocate for you, the ESP users. And I think you're going to like what he's going to do. And we're trying to let you know that we take your input very seriously. So without further ado, let me introduce Dr. Tom Arnold, Memorial Eye Center, Sugar Land, Texas.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you. I'm very honored. I'm very flattered. I've known most of you for a number of years now. It's been really exciting to see the development and the improvement in scleral profilometry. And I really think that the ESP, you know, made the great leap and went to warp drive with 5.0. And so congrats to Rainer and Arnie and all the team. So yeah, I think it's the future. I think it's the way to fit lenses now. And with these new enhancements that Rainer, you're unveiling today, those are the issues. You know, we have to get over the cones, especially, you know, when they're peripheral, the pinguecula, we all struggle with. So these are big advancements, and anybody who's been fitting sclerals, you know, can understand, you know, how important this is. So kudos to you, and I am happy and flattered to, you know, be able to spread the word. And just like Tom said, I don't hold back. So any issues you're having, you know, I'd be like to take them up and address them. And, you know, we have real world input with this. And we're in the trenches. Those of us who are in clinical practice are in the trenches every day. And I found out, as most of you have, when you start fitting specialty lenses, especially scleral lenses, and you start developing your practice, the patients get harder because you develop a reputation. And so you see the more difficult patients. So this is a fantastic tool to have. And I'm just very excited about the future, and I'm honored to be here with you. And I can answer a couple questions, but I'm still working, so I have to go see a patient.
Well, Tom, great. Glad you're here. Going to look forward to working with you. We've already put been working on a project already. But what I want to say is now Tom Arnold jumps up to a very important position at Eaglet, pretty much alongside Jason Jalicka. I mean, Jason really knows a lot of very interesting technical details about scleral lenses. Tom, I'm not saying you don't, but Tom, I think his forte is listening and communicating. And so, you know, you're going to know what the users are after and how to prioritize stuff. So I think the team is getting to be pretty interesting. So yeah, Tom's first project is going to be a short introductory video on the ESP. We used to call it a 5-minute video. Now we're going to call it a 10-minute video, but we're going to publish. We shot it yesterday. We're going to publish it here sometime in the next week or so. I think you're going to like it. It's a great, quick introduction to the ESP. And if you are willing to share it with any of your colleagues, we would really appreciate that. So thanks, Tom. Thanks.
Thank you.
Jumping in, and enjoy the rest of your Saturday, Dr. Arnold.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, carry on. And yeah, congratulations to all of you for all the hard work you've done. And future is very exciting. So thanks for having me. I'm sorry I have to go. Have a great weekend. All right. Cheers. Bye. Bye-bye.
I was almost at the end of my my story. There's one more thing to say. At the moment that the algorithm is coming up with, so in the old situation, is coming up with this much flatter landing zone, sometimes this is going to give you quite a well-fitting lens because you are avoiding this pinguecula. At the moment that we're not lifting this landing zone anymore, take care that you design something like a smart channel, a microvolt, a recess, whatever name the lab is giving it. But if you see these blue rings, always check the prediction, and I would say in 80 or 90% of the cases, you will have to include something like a microvolt or a smart channel.
I remember it was end of May when we came first with the Direct Connect, this direct connection to the labs. Really, the idea is just to streamline the process. We know nobody has time, and I think for you guys it's even more critical with the amount of work you have. So whatever we can make it easier, we will be happy to do it. So talking to the labs, we came up with this idea of directing, connecting to them. And in May, we launched this feature with Boston site and also Blanchard. And right now, this is just 3 months later, this is what Rainier and the whole technical team behind has done. The Direct Connect feature comes now with 5 additional labs. So we are now connecting with Bausch & Lomb, connecting also for the ScanFit Pro, also with Excel, with AccuLens, and with AVT. So all these 5 labs together with Boston site and Blanchard gives a really probably 90-something% of the lenses you are using. And of course, the few labs missing will keep on coming for the next release. And so now we really hope that for most of your orders, you have a little bit of help within the ESP to make it happen a bit faster. The beauty of this feature, very, very fast, is 2 sides. On the one side, now suddenly it's like Eaglet Eye and the lab sitting together. So the expertise of both sides, the knowledge on the one side, sometimes on the map and the reading of that eye, but on the other side, obviously on the manufacturing and designing that lens. So now suddenly the connection is there. So this is really going to help, especially now it's going more and more in direction of customized lenses. And also making the process for you and for the patient easier. This is something we all want for any device anyways that we have at home. How it works, very simple. First you make the measurement as you are used to, the 6 steps. Then you go to the first lens fit part of the software in the ESP, and you can select as usually the supplier, the type of lens, and the diameter you want. So this is as usual. And at that moment, also like you always did in the past, you click on calculate. But at that moment, then the Direct Connect button becomes active. And just by clicking on it, the information will get in its way. And this is just a little explanation because it's going to work different for the different labs. When we saw it for the Boston site and for Blanchard, they both have an online platform. So when you clicked on Direct Connect, it went to that platform that you already knew. So you could keep on using it as usual, but it will all just happen within seconds within the computer you are working in. Now for the new labs, it's slightly different. So for the ScanFit Pro, they don't have an online platform, but they have a local running program. So when you click in Direct Connect, that program will open within your computer. And again, also there, you will keep on giving the instructions you were giving until now. For the other 4 labs, it's slightly different. We've been working with all of them, creating an order form. So you remember before you always had either an email or a PDF or whatever document where you had to fill all those features you need. Okay, right now, when you click on Direct Connect, an order form will open again where you are working at that computer. And there you can fill your details. So this is how it looks like. Just an example. You click Direct Connect. The ESP takes all the parameters you have calculated for your lens, for the prediction of the lens. So which eye, the type of the lens, the diameter, the SAG values, etc. And then in this form, you can give all the rest. You want a special material, you need another color, you want a multifocal, you need a gold, whatever you need, you will be able to fill it one after the other. And at the end, you just click Submit. And at that second, the whole eye measurement, because some labs, they like open it, and sometimes you will need something special, they need to look at the eye. So the whole measurement of the eye, the lens prediction, and all the other parameters that you put into that form, everything just goes to the lab. And in that right second, it goes from the image acquisition you just made to the manufacturing straight away. So we really, really hope, and as Rainier and Arnold said before, we're really very happy to get feedback. So let us know in the next couple of weeks and months how it works. But we've created these order forms together with the lab. And we believe this will really make it easier and will avoid this back and forth that sometimes was needed for things missing or things forgotten. So hopefully this helps you a little bit in your practice. So right now, this Direct Connect works for those orders made directly to the US labs. As you can imagine, the process behind in the software is quite complex, that all this information goes to the right address. For the rest of the countries, for the rest of the licensed manufacturers, we are still working on that, and we will bring you the news as soon as we can, but this needs really a lot of backup work. We have to contact those sub-labs and also get these order forms set up for them. So sorry for this maybe little disappointment right now, but be sure that we will come very soon with this feature also for the rest of the countries.
So 2 more improvements to discuss. First of all, we are going to include the Vvid beside of the HVID. Basically because we're starting to customize and more customization. So it is needed. Lately, people talk a lot about the oval optical zones. So we're going to offer Vvid. Not much more to tell about it, I think. Beside of that, the over-refraction calculator did require a fix. And I have to explain this a little bit. I'm born and raised in the Netherlands. The Netherlands is a country of GP lenses, so small corneal lenses. When you're fitting these small corneal lenses, your trial kit has base curve 7.6, 7.7, 7.8, etc. in millimeters, of course. So you try to find the closest lens, put it on eye, check the fluo map And if you need to adjust, you usually are adjusting very small steps. So what you see here on the screen. So it could be that my trial lens is a 7.6 and I would like to go for a 7.5. At that moment, your calculation is easier. What happens with a scleral lens? I made it a little bit extreme, of course, but it might be that your trial lens is your trial lens is far away from the base curve of the predicted best fit base curve. So here I show 6 and 7.5. At that moment, you have to take into account the refractive index, and that was something we did not do. As soon as we're ready, we're still testing the software. We will send out an email with the download link. It is basically download it, double click, accept, next, 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 and you're done. Always, when you install the software, open the software immediately, and in the left bottom corner, you will find the support button. Simply click it and hit create. At that moment, we get your log file and we get a confirmation what software version you're running. So please, after installation, send us a support request. It's simply giving us an update on your software status. Any questions so far? I will move on to the last section, which is clinical cases. I think 2 weeks ago, Tom dropped this question on Facebook about reducing scleral lens fogging. I would say the correct name would be midday fogging, or correct name, it is a name we use often. I can really recommend read this on our Facebook page because it's an interesting discussion. And let me just show the way I look at it. This is a measurement I got last week. When you look at the map, you can see immediately that we're dealing with an eye, a scleral shape with the rule. So a flat horizontal meridian and a very steep vertical meridian. You can see that visualized here with the two cross sections. Let's say that you want to design a 16mm scleral lens, and you're going to do this not based on the first lens fit predictions, but doing it based on the numbers. You could take a chord length of 16mm and you're going to find a difference. So the difference between the flat and the steep meridian, a difference of 760 microns. Pretty big, I think. What I always recommend to do is also check the chord length at 13. I use 13 because this is a generic number, so it works for almost any scleral design out there. But if you you know all the features of the scleral design you're using, you may choose the correct number matching with the scleral lens you're fitting. So you may consult your lab asking what is the point where the lens start to land, but on a generic way you could say 13mm. If you look at the difference between the flat and the steep meridian, you can see that already at the point where the lens starts to land, you're talking about 390 microns of difference. And this is also what Jason Jetlica presented in a poster last ESLS, that a lot of the toricity is already present near the limbus. He was using a 12mm quartz. I prefer to use a 13 because it's more related to scleral lens fitting, but the results are matching. If you would fit, let's call it a classic scleral design, so that means you're fitting a lens having a spheric optical zone, a spheric transition zone, so a spheric limbal zone, and only toricity in the haptics, so in the landing zones. The lens fit is going to look like this. So what I try to visualize here is in green, you could call it a fluo map, and in red, it is the compression map. So what you notice here is, first of all, that at the point where the lens starts to land, it's barely touching in the vertical meridian. So you can see that only at the very edge superior and a little bit inferior, it is landing. And when you're looking at the horizontal meridian, you can see that the compression is actually completely on the inside of the landing zone and hardly any on the edge. So with a couple of labs has come up with designs solving this issue. You may go to ScanFit. Zen Lens has Zen BE at the moment. Also Boston Site is coming with a new design with an oval optical zone. The difference, however, is what you see here. Let's say the classic design, spheric optical zone, spheric transition zone, and only toricity in the landing zone. And with newer designs, you may say, keep a normal optical zone or design it oval. I'm not the expert on what way you should go, but what I really promote is consider fitting these designs, offering toricity in the transition zone, so in the limbal section of the lens. And this is what I wanted to present about clinical cases. I believe it is very important to prevent midday fogging as well as conjunctival prolapse. Any questions or any comments on that?
Yeah, I'd encourage anyone, if you have a question, open your microphone and come in, please, because this is the moment, guys.
Okay, there has to be a differentiation sometimes, and it depends on who's denoted the midday fogging, because it could easily be front surface greasing, and if a patient describes it, they're not able to judge the difference. So I think it has to be clear that the solution Renier is discussing is actually for the actual tear fogging as opposed to front greasing. That's an entirely different issue.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, and the visualization is actually based on the poster we made a couple of years ago, Brian. So what you see here is the classic Zen design with a flat 10, steep 10, and how it was bearing. And you did make beautiful photos, although the patient itself wasn't nystagmus. If in any case you can dig them up or rework them with Photoshop, that would be awesome.
I'll have a look and see. I did nail his eyes shut for a minute just to keep it nice and still. It was easier.
And can I ask how many of our users at the moment, for example, work with the bi-elevation map from Zen Lens? And what are your experiences with that when you fit that particular lens type?
Well, I fit 3 pairs of bi-elevation Zen Lens. It was first fit success, except my last one, that is this week. I have totally limbus bearing, 360 degrees round.
Okay, but there's always a case where it's you're not having first lens success. I'm trying to look it up because I saw your message, and actually I cannot, because I've not been digging into it, but I did run it through the new algorithms we have quickly, and then I found this is quite interesting to show, because here you see that the flat meridian is actually a vertical, so it's an eye against the rule. And when you're looking at this map, you're not seeing straight away, there is a pinguecula. So when you're using it, and just this blue circle that really helps you. So it may help to find those hiding pingueculas in eyes against the rule. I did not dig any further in your case yet, so I will do that next week. Doesn't
it kind of speak volumes that if this is the toricity of this eye and it's bearing 360, then the toricity of the lens is pretty impressive. Despite the fact it's touching, it's a uniform touch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Brian, I did not think about, is it related to the large HVID, which is quite common at Cyprus? Or can you just say ramp up the LCC, so the limbal clearance? I'm not sure. I just did go into it.
Okay, well, perhaps that's something to discuss next time in a next future user forum. Sorry, Kyriakos, go ahead.
No, because I have a question about the limbus. We can raise the limbus on B-elevation lenses?
Yes, you can. Yeah.
Okay, but not quartan, APS.
So, sorry, can you repeat it?
But not quartan APS on B-elevation lenses.
Technically, probably they can do that, but how do you fit it? It's complex.
Okay, I want to go on with the blue circle. How I imagine the blue circle. I want to draw and hover with my mouse the blue circle, and when I draw, the software fill the blanks. I mean, fill the width, the elevation of the microvolts.
Of course, no, this is very true. And
next version.
And that will be the next step, of course, yes.
And when I choose the microvolt at the edge of the lens, that I can draw the half circle.
Yeah, well, at this point, we use only the blue circles to indicate, so to identify that there is a pinguecula. And still, you have to design the microvolt yourself. And yes, we're thinking about including that as well, but that's the hard part is, for example, that a Zen Lens is only offering microvolts which have a circular shape. Boston side offer a range of shapes. So we really have to take into account what lab, what possibilities do they offer. So we have to design that carefully.
Yeah. Rainier, there's a question from Alvin Arellano. Is the Vvid used to help calculate these changes? It's probably surrounding the clinical example that you showed.
Yeah, at the moment, not, except for ScanFit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how?
They have their magic tricks, not in a black box, but it's fully calculated. So I'm not that into the ScanFit Pro. So
okay.
Brian,
we'll dig into
they have
this
experience.
deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah, and explain that in the next user forum for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rainier. We're nearing the end of our user forum webinar, but as right at the start, there was an interesting discussion with Brian Tompkins. He was so extremely kind to share on the Eaglet's Nest, our Facebook forum, a video that he made together with Keir Patel, and about his best practice method for hygienically getting the best fluorescein onto the tear film. And I have a still from the video to illustrate, and perhaps Brian, if you could be so kind to kind of talk through what you're doing. And of course, we all recommend that you go and watch the video itself. I think it's very illustrative. But Brian, if you could just talk us through it, please.
Sure. I mean, it was really partially based on Renier's advice, partially on Kyriakos. Kyriakos had really said how important it is to get the wetting right, and he kind of preloads his patients through 2 or 3 days of consistent dropping before they come in. And I think that's actually part and parcel of this, which wasn't really said in the video. But we were striving to get consistency and realizing that to drop fluorescein off what used to be called florets, but whatever stick system of fluorescein these days is wetted, you would get an inconsistency with the volume of the actual fluorescein within the drop. Renier then said about using anesthetic, and it has its advantages, disadvantages, but we found that if we use a minim, now I've just had to look it up, I think a US and a UK minim is actually 60 microliters. And all of our anesthetic, cyclopentolate, all other drugs are produced in the UK. I thought it was universal, but it seems it's not so. But the little tiny ampule is a minim from Bausch & Lomb. And ultimately, if it holds 60 microliters, we use a fluorescein sodium minim, which I think is 2% off the top of my head. We use a proximeticaine or any other anesthetic that is used in whichever country will do. And we tend to use, for consistency, a Vvisol product called OcuDry, which is 0.3 hyaluronic acid. And so what we use are one of these lens trays. I don't know if you've ever seen them. You could use an old contact lens case, a brand new one, a specific contact lens case for this product. But because the minim comes out of its packaging sterile from the fridge, you squeeze the contents of the fluorescein minim, you squeeze the contents of the anesthetic minim, and you squeeze the contents of the sterile ampule, and all of those mix together then with a tip of one of the minims, and then you reverse suction into the two minim ampules, and you have then a mixed, consistent fluorescein mix with wetting and anesthetic that you can pretty much use, and you know it's always going to be consistent per day. So you can use it during the day. We heard some methods of putting fluorescein strips, half a dozen fluorescein strips into a bottle of anesthetic. And we just thought that's going to be prone to sterility issues. Whereas these minim tips, you can recover and keep ready for the day in the fridge. And if a patient comes in, or when a patient comes in for wanting ESP, then drop, and you're using the same as you used on the previous patient. So it's a consistency, and the software advances to me have just, as Tom said, gone leaps and bounds. I think it's amazing now. And the problem was getting the consistency and the regularity of the fluorescein mix. And this just addresses it and works superbly for us.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, this is absolutely spot on. It is really making a huge difference if you get this right. And quite often the practitioners in our family of ESP users, where they really have this nailed down, they get fantastic measurements on a very consistent basis. So keep us informed of your feedback. This is something we really love to kind of support this discussion around it. We're very grateful for all the people who gave feedback in the past, Kyriakos, Barry Leonard, many other people, the people from the Boston Site Lab, and now you, Brian and Keir. So let's keep that going. And
there are a couple of questions in the chat, Arnie.
Go ahead.
Well, they're asking also, Brian, if you can post the video again, please, in the nest. That would be very nice.
Do you want me to put it in Eaglet's nest? If I'm kind of clever, I just need to see a bit better. Hang on a sec.
And then,
I might be able to find it here.
So then there is a question about how many drops you are instilling into each eye.
Generally a couple. And to be honest, you get to see what's working. I think it's useful to get the patient to blink a few times. It helps the anesthetic to dig in. So maybe 30 seconds, how many blinks in that 30 seconds you can kind of count or just address. So a couple of drops, let it blink around. And I think probably better, in fact, actually, I tell you what we tend to do, it's just come to my head, because we work in pairs when we're doing Eaglet. I don't think it's an easy thing to do on your own. I'm not saying it's impossible, but we will always have a buddy up system. I tend to shoot with the camera, and Kea tends to do the eye opening. And what he does is a superior, inferior, temporal and nasal drop. So that's 4 drops technically. And that's another useful tip to put in, which we didn't put into the system. And so once those drops are in and then blinked around 30 seconds or so, then that eye's done. And I'll do the right eye, take the images, and then we'll do the same in the left eye, but we reinstill from scratch on that eye. I think that's another advanced tip I would kind of put into place. Can I find the video? Just bear with me. I don't want to show the wrong video. Ha ha ha.
Okay, and the last one, of course, we had the discussion at the beginning as well, is for the US-based providers. What is the recommendation for waiting for the fluorescein protocol?
Yeah, I saw that. Well, if you can, I don't know how US drops are administered. So if you need to put a drop of anesthetic in, do you have a large bottle and use a dropper? Or are there mini ampules of some brand name? I don't know. We have Americans here. What's the answer, anybody?
What I know is that the minims, you can find it only on the UK market.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's our experience as well. So
yeah, we'll use in the US, we'll use, it's all in a bottle, and we'll put proparacaine in first and let that settle in a little bit. And then we'll instill the drops in the fluorescein. But I like the idea of maybe mixing the drops and the fluorescein together, and then putting a drop in or so, letting it settle, and then doing it again right before you administer it. I think you get a better even flow.
Hi, Jeremy. So
hello.
Every drop, cyclopentolate, midrelate, whatever it may be, all of them are all large bottle droppers. There's no individual drop sets.
Not that we have in the office. I can look around and see if there's something that we could purchase online, but no, we have just the larger bottles there, but we can mix it together and create our own.
But my concern with that is the sterility level, because if that bottle's open, how long does a large bottle last?
Well, it has BAK in it, so it will last for quite some time.
Okay, so does that produce any irritant factor or not?
A little bit.
I think we would have to look into whether there's a pharmacy that would compound for us, because available commercially, they're mostly 15 ml bottles, and yes, they're loaded with BAK. And certainly, my patient population are mostly Sjogren's fits, so that's not what I want.
John Gillis has a pharmacy. I need to follow up with him and find out where it is and what the name of it is.
Okay, and do you have unit dose artificial tears? Okay, so Rene, if you imagine you have the artificial tear, which we use a Spanish version of Vvid because we just get a fantastic price and it's a really good product, but tear or many other unit doses are available. So actually, if you use a tray or a contact lens case, you can empty the unit dose artificial tear, put a drop of the anesthetic, put a drop of the fluorescein, or be consistent in how much fluorescein strip you allow soaking in there, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And then suck it back into the artificial tear. And some of them you can reseal. So you've got that then as the vehicle to give to the patient or instill to the patient. Yeah. So it's another way to think of it.
Yeah. Great idea.
Nice one. In our
the challenge we
to,
have that are only ampule-based artificial tear with hyaluronate in it is Blink, and I can't find it here in rural Kentucky. So that's the other. It's a challenge. Maybe better off compounding. So or when I see you at BCLA, I load up my suitcase.
Yeah, that's fine. That I'll take.
Done that before.
Yeah.
None of your products other than Blink are available as unit dose options.
Not with hyaluronate in them.
Really?
We use I'm trying to think of which refresh we use, but it's a gosh darn, I'm mind blanking right now, but it is a
Refresh Relieva has hyaluronate in it, but it's not available in unit dose yet. It's only
we have a preservative free bottle that we use of it, but
right,
it's not. But you could always empty out any artificial tear. Just empty out the ampule, the preservative free artificial tear, and then mix that all together, and then suck it back up in the ampule. Yeah. Not use the artificial tear you used. I mean, just do regular refresh.
Wasted.
Yeah, it's a sample.
Interesting.
Yeah. And just feedback from our side as far as the fluorescein strips to dip into the mixture. In our experience, we've had no occasion where there was too much fluorescein concentration. So, and Brian, you raise an excellent point, is the method that you devised is very consistent because you use that same minimum and etc. On the other hand, for people who don't have access to fluorescein minimums, dipping several strips of fluorescein could very well offer a hygienic solution. And in our experience, we've not come across where what the percentage of fluorescein dissolved led to any issues.
I think what we found a little bit is that it's actually less likely to even influence the conjunctival shape factor, which we're kind of getting so precise at measuring, because a strip can actually usually be touched to the conjunctiva, whereas a drop just blips in and doesn't actually then touch anything. So I think the manufacture or mix up the little
sorry. So to create some confusion. So I was thinking of using the basin that you have, and instead of using a minim, you actually dip your fluorescein strip into that, and then you suck it back up into the miniature.
Sure.
miniature bottle. So you basically end up with a similar procedure to what you have.
Sure. Sure. Alternatively, we'll get all these fantastic products from the UK and I'll distribute them over and we'll get a system going. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Any final remarks? If not, then time to close off this wonderful user forum. Thank you all for your participation. We're very much looking forward to rolling out this new software very soon. We're very busy with final validation and making sure that everything is a-okay perfect. So as soon as we have that internal confirmation, we'll reach out to you. Our launch date is set for the 30th, so in just a few days from now, and we look forward to working with you and getting your feedback on the new software. And with that, I thank you all, and we'll definitely be in touch. Let's stay closely in touch. And if there's anything we can do for you personally in your practice with your ESP, let us know, of course. Thank you and bye-bye.
Amazing. Cheers. Thank you.
Bye-bye.